Declan, just in terms of that clip there, obviously women already have been told that they have to wear the full burqa and they've been forced out of work and education. So what's going to happen to the women of Afghanistan now, the oppression?
I think initially there's going to be a cloak of conservatism, to put it mildly, thrown across Afghan society. And a return to the old school values. But the real question is, will that be done in a steady and staid manner, or will it be done in a bloodthirsty manner where scapegoats are treated harshly in public to encourage everybody else, as it were, or to settle scores? The new Taliban leadership say that they're a new brush sweeping clean, and that they're going to be less brutal and more consistent. And this will be what seasoned Afghanistan watchers are waiting to see. But the thing to remember,
that will happen?
Well, it could. I think there's a desire, because I think there's a new strategic thinking at play within the new Taliban. But is the Taliban going to be one consistent entity? Because it is made up of tribal groups. Can the centre hold?
Can the leader hold that, though? Can he maintain that?
This is what we're going to have to see. So far in Kandahar, the new Taliban regime seemed to be acting in a reasonably steady and mundane way. The new mayor is looking to re-establish power supplies, not looking to have mass meetings and hangings and things of that nature, which is what we would have seen from the Taliban in the 90s.
And I suppose, Declan, then there is the fear that we are going to see then attacks in the US or Europe from them now. Is this a real fear?
Well, it's a correctly held fear, because the irony of what President Biden said, that they went in to deprive Al-Qaeda of having a base to operate from, but by pulling out the way they've done is they've given carte blanche to allow Afghanistan sink back into being a rogue state, and all the trappings of a rogue state are that they allow various disparate groups with antipathy to the West to coalesce and to conceive and plan and execute attacks on the West from there. Now, if the Taliban are clever, they won't do that, because at the moment you can see Boris Johnson across the water in the UK has been active in calling on the West to act as one and not recognise the Taliban as the leaders of the legitimate leaders of Afghanistan. But as the coming year unfolds, if they are able to hold stability and not engage in mass bloodletting, you could have a different approach.
Where governments will want to talk to them.
Well, they will. They'll
in
say,
some way.
Do they hold the reins? Are they? The same way Assad his regime managed to survive in Syria, because at the end of the day it was going to be more trouble and more bloodshed to oust him.
Declan, just before you go, very quickly, the Irish response from the Irish government. What's the plan for the refugees there?
Well, I think the response has been appropriate, and I think we will do whatever we can.
Okay.
I mean, for a small country, we haven't been found wanting before.
And we are going to allow refugees in.
Yes, in that as many as are allowed get out, and that will be the problem. How many will be allowed out?
Simon Cutney was saying that because they're in negotiations with the EU to try and source it to get them out.
Yes. We'll wait and see. Unlike any other crisis, the one thing about refugees was you could be sure they would come pouring out. Again, it would be clever of the Taliban to allow refugees out. It would be an indicator of their changed nature, but also